Claudette Carvin was a 15-year-old high school student at Booker T. Washington High School in Montgomery. And after she had been arrested, her parents contacted Mr. E.D. Nixon, who was a civil rights worker in Montgomery and who's a family friend of ours, and he recommended to them that they contact me to serve as her lawyer. I had only been practicing very little. Matter of fact, it was only 6 or 8 months. Claudette was arrested on March the 2nd. Her trial was shortly thereafter. I became licensed to practice on September the 7th, 1954. But the reason I was a lawyer was so that I could help people who had problems like Claudette. So I was not afraid and had no reservations about representing her. Well, because a great deal happened before Mrs. Parks was arrested. She would come by my office during her lunch hour, and we would sit and have lunch together and discuss various matters in the community, including the evils of segregation and about doing away with the problems we had on the buses. And we also talked about how a person should act in the event that person were faced with a situation similar to hers, where they were asked to get up and give a white person the seats, African Americans. And we sat in her living room and made the plans for the Montgomery bus boycott. Well, because we didn't call it a boycott. What we thought was if a person would simply stay off of the buses until they could return to them on a non-segregated basis, that would say more than anything we could do. And that's what we encourage people to do, and that's what happened. Well, of course, you had over a long period of time a series of cases before we filed Browder versus Gale, which had gradually been indicating that various aspects of discrimination based on race was unconstitutional. If Browder versus Gale had not been filed, there would have been some other suit filed by some other plaintiff asking for the same relief. So I think ultimately it was going to come. It's just a question of who decided that they would file it and who filed it, and we ended up going into court. No, because the court held that it was unconstitutional, and once the mandate, and that is the order from the Supreme Court, reached the court in Montgomery, and the federal court in Montgomery entered an order declaring that the city ordinances and state statute, which required segregation, to immediate end to segregation on the buses. If you have been listening to the presidential debates with the two leading candidates and see the difference between the approaches that the two, you'll see that we have a real divided country, and that a lot of the problems that we have, believe it or not, are still based on race. And one of the things, as I look back, it's not something that I would do differently, but I thought, as I was filing these lawsuits, the power structure in our state and across the South particularly, that these people would, not only would they have acted because the law says it, but they would do it because it's right. And I'm afraid that change has not taken place. And I think the fact that you have so many young African Americans who are singled out, and so many of them are in prison instead of having an opportunity to have an education, I think it tends to show that we still have some serious race problems in this country. And these race problems are not going to go away by themselves. I think all of our governmental agencies and other agencies are going to have to look at the race problem, do like we did with the problems that we were able to solve, come up with a plan and implement the plan. It's going to take all forms of government. It's going to take business. It's going to take individuals to work on the race problems in this country in order to try to end it so that all of our citizens will truly be free.